So you know now how to calculate MRP, marginal revenue product, and we said we have two methods. The first method is when you find the change of total revenue and you divide it on the change of quantity of the factor. The second way, you multiply the MPP by the marginal revenue, and we took this as an example for calculating MRP. So what about MRP curve? How can we show you the MRP in a graph? So the two factors is the quantity and the MRP. So the quantity of factor X, let's say 1 labor. If you have 1 labor, you go up and see the what? The MRP. The MRP is 45 what dollars. The MRP اللي هي revenue إيراد. والإيراد بالإيش؟ in money term. So you have the sign of dollar. So what about if you increase the quantity of the factor? Let's say 2 labors. So the MRP will be $40. You have 3 labors, 35 for 30 and 5 what? $25. So you connect these points. You connect them. When you connect them, you will have, or you will get what? The MRP curve. This is the MRP curve, and it is downward sloping. Why downward sloping? Because we have inverse relationship between the quantity of the factor and the MRP. That means when the quantity of the factor increases, the MRP what? Decreases or falls. So we finally or eventually have a downward sloping curve. So you remember the factor demand curve. تكلمنا عن factor demand curve اللي هو هنا. And we said it is a downward sloping curve. So the demand for factors is derived demand, that is, it is derived from and directly related to the demand for the product. And you know, in the demand curve for the product and for the factor are downward sloping. So the what? The MRP هو نفسه يعني ال MRP وال demand curve for the factor, they are both what? Downward sloping. So the data in columns 1 اللي في الجدول هنا هذا, this one column 1 العمود الأول, the data اللي 0 1 2 3 5 4 5 هنا, we plotted them here. So and in 5 are plotted to derive the MRP curve, and the MRP curve shows the various quantities of the factor the firm is willing to buy at different prices, which is what a demand curve shows. The MRP curve is the firm's factor demand curve. يعني يشتقوا لكم هنا إن ال MRP curve هو نفسه a demand curve for the factor demand curve of the firm. Both are downward sloping and both have a negative or opposite relationship between these two factors. So value marginal product, VMP, is what? Is the price of the good multiplied by the marginal physical product, MPP. تضربوه مع البرايس, تذكروا ال MPP marginal physical product يعني the additional units or quantity of output from the additional what? Input. فلما تضربوها مع البرايس يعطيك ايش؟ الفاليو تبع الايش؟ المارجنال physical product. طيب VMP equals P times MPP. So a firm wants to know the VMP of a factor because it helps in deciding how many units of the factor to hire. For labor, you want to know what the worker will do for you and what you will have to pay the worker. The VMP of a factor is a dollar measure of, so underline dollar measure, monetary measure, of how much an additional unit of the factor will do for you. طيب MRP, you remember the MRP. How can we, one method to calculate MRP is you multiply the MR, margin revenue, by the MPP. طيب كيف نحسب ال VMP؟ VMP equals price times MPP. طيب ال VMP هو نفسه ال MRP ولكن في حالة واحدة فقط، إذا كان البزنس تبعك يشتغل في ال perfectly competitive market. طيب this is MRP. This is the MRP curve اللي quantity of the factor and the MRP. And when we are talking about the VMP, we are comparing or considering the relationship between the quantity of the factor, the MPP and the price. طيب they are the same, so MRP equals the MRP curve is this one and also the VMP curve is this one. So why they are they the same? Because the MR equals P في حالة الإيش؟ في ال perfect competition market. ما دام إنه this one equals this one and this one MPP نفسها MPP هنا, that means or that leads إنه ال MRP equals VMP. يعني مثلا إذا كان ال MRP 10 وهنا ال MPP مثلا let's say 5, البرايس إيش يساوي؟ 10. البرايس هو نفسه ال MR في حالة ال perfect competition. ال MPP كم؟ 5، فبيكون الناتج هنا نفسه ال MRP وال VMP. So the MRP factor demand curve and the VMP curve are the same for a price taker. Price taker is a business that works in a perfect competition market because P equals MR. This is a very important point, so focus on this. Why the MRP equals VMP and for the perfectly competitive firm? The answer is because in a perfect competition market the price equals the marginal revenue. طيب في حالة إنه البزنس تبعك يشتغل في monopoly market or monopolistic competition market or oligopoly market, you know that يعني recall previous data, previous information. إنه قلنا ال MR is less than the price or the price is larger than the MR في هذه الحالة في هذه الماركتس. فإذا كان مثلا البرايس 10 هنا بيكون ال MR كم يعني تقريبا 8 let's say 8. ال MPP نفسه هنا 5 هنا مثلا 5 فهنا الانسر بيكون أكبر من هنا. فال VMP is always greater than the what? So the VMP is greater than the MRP. Why? Because this business is working in a monopoly market or monopolistic competition market or oligopoly market. So there are always the price is more than the MR. So the MR factor demand curve for a firm that is a price searcher, monopolist, monopolistic competitor, oligopolist, lies below the VMP curve because for these firms the price is larger than the marginal revenue. شوف ال curves هنا. The red one is for the MRP and the yellow one, let's say, is the VMB. This is the VMB curve. So the VMB curve lies above the MRB curve, or the same thing, MRB curve lies below the VMB curve. Why? Because the VMB is always larger than the MRB in these markets. Why? Because the price is always larger than the MR. So this is the case for a monopolistic competitor and an oligopolist. And this is the case for a perfectly competitive firm. And MRP is the same as VMP because price equals MR. So what about marginal factor cost, MFC? طيب نحن لما كنا نحسب ال MRB أو ال VMP نحن كنا نحسب إيش الفائدة الإضافية من إضافة ليبر جديد أو إضافي، أو إضافة فاكتور غير الليبر، مش ضروري إنه ليبر. مثلا آلة جديدة، مثلا أنت الآن تشي تفعل مثلا project ولا investment إن أنت تزيد مثلا new equipment، new مثلا machine، تشتريها أو لا. طيب عشان تقرر يعني to make this decision whether to buy this to invest on this machine or not, you have to find or consider the MRP and the MFC. ال MRP بيعطيك إيش الفائدة، إيش الإيراد من هذا الإيش النيو machine. أما ال MFC will give you or will provide you with the cost with this or of this machine. يعني بعدين زي البالانس، زي الميزان، أنت توزنها، تحسب كم الفائدة من هذه الماشين الجديدة، تحسب كم تكلفة هذه الآلة الجديدة. فطبعا طبيعي بديهي إنه إذا كان الفائدة أكبر من الكوست you will buy this machine. إذا طلع إنه ال MFC أكثر أو greater than the MRP so you will not buy this machine لأن التكلفة بتكون أكثر من الإيراد من هذه الماشين.